Central Rundown. I'm Eric, and with me today is...
I'm Lee.
I'm Sam.
I'm Dan.
And it's... The All-Star game was announced, or the All-Star rosters have announced, so we're going to talk about that pretty quick. But before we get in, we can talk about some standings, because there's been some movement. Not at the top, because, the Tigers are never going to lose that lead. The Tigers now are 59 and 54, 14 games up over the now second place Kansas City Royals, who are still below 500, but we're going to ignore that fact. Kansas City's gone 6-4 in their last 10. In a virtual tie with second is with the Twins, who's a game behind, but the winning percentage is the same. Then, oh dear, Cleveland. We talked a lot about them last week, and it got worse. They are now 15 and a half games back. They are 42 and 48, and they're 2-8 in their last 10. Chicago, still the White Sox. I don't know how many times we've said that, but maybe take a drink of water every time we say it now. I'll start with the playoff odds. The Tigers, near lock, 99.9% literally to make the playoff. They won't make the wild card because they're going to skip that round. Kansas City and the Twins, 9.3 and 7 and basically 8%. They've improved their odds 3% in the last week. Bully for them.
Man, look at that! Look at that change in the last 30 days. Minus 19 for the Royals, minus 21 for the Twins, minus 40 for the Guardians. My God.
And then the Tigers, 0.2, because it's really hard to improve when you're at 99%.
Yeah, it's a bit
I just like the change for the White Sox. All zeros.
zero.
Just don't even bother.
I think they started off at 0. It's a very fierce competition for second right now, though.
I want to know what the Twins are doing differently than the Royals and Guardians, that they have a 0.1% chance to win the division. Wow, it's less than 0.1 for the Royals and Guardians.
It must be like roster right. Or something.
Have the Twins haven't done that well against the Tigers this year, have they?
No, but has anyone?
No,
they haven't played that much.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Actually, well, no.
Well,
we played 2 series, and Tigers took both 2 out of 3. Maybe it's like dependent on strength of schedule. Like the Twins have an easier remaining schedule.
I will, because if we can't click it on the screen, because if you put playoff odds, they do have learn about our methodology, and if I remember right, it is they take their last 100 games of that team's performance, and then I think it's then strength of schedule. But let me just confirm that. Oh, this is very wordy. I'll confirm that later, because that was not like a 2-line sentence. It's like a whole paragraph. So,
track for baseball.
Well, the quick recap is that the Tigers are going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
The other teams in the Central, really not. Probably not.
To put it into perspective a little bit, the distance between the second place Royals and Twins and the first place Tigers is the same as the second place Royals and Twins and the last place White Sox.
Yeah. Let's also, those are the playoff odds. We'll see. The next slide is probably just as laughable, because let's talk about the wild card, because, the Tigers, Lee and I talked about this right before we got on air. It is the Tigers with 59 wins, a drop. The Astros are leading their division at 55. Then you have the Blue Jays winning the AL East, and then there's another drop to the wild card. Then you have the Yankees, Tampa, and Mariners are holding those spots, and then you have the Twins and Royals 4 games back of those. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 potential wild card teams in a 15-team league. Okay. There are 6 games or 10 games left before the All-Star break. We'll see what happens. The American League runs. The Tigers, 3rd in the American League. Then a real big drop-off of bad offense. The Twins, and then the bottom 3 is still the Guardians, the Royals, and the White Sox. ERA, Detroit, Kansas City creeping up on the White Sox to take second. And then you have Guardians have climbed over league average. The Twins are climbing back in. And then the White Sox are sitting at 4.17, but just below a league average ERA. Well, before we talk about the playoff rosters, how's everyone feeling about their team in the last week? Sam, you weren't on last week. Why don't you? It's been a good week.
Yeah, a pretty rough month of June, all things considered. And I think that, we can pretty much just agree as a group that was the case for our teams in the month of June. I think, the needle is starting to point upward in the month of July. They are 5-2 so far in this month. And I think that they will either have a sort of, they'll either go on a run or they'll just kind of have water find its level and they'll be around 500. I think for a while they were overperforming their expectations, or they were overperforming, their level, and then I think for a while, for the month of June, they were very much underperforming. So I think that, water will find its level and they'll maybe be around 500, but it's not going to be uh, barring a great run in August and September. I don't see much opportunity.
Yeah.
And I was actually talking to my dad last night, and we were discussing the Royals, and he said to me, oh, the Royals are like 13, 14 games out of it, or whatever. I was like, yeah, they're like within a handful of games of the wild card.
Yep.
And he was shocked to hear that. Like, he couldn't believe that the Royals were only like, I don't know how much it was, but 3 or 4 games out of the wild card at that time. So perhaps the Royals could repeat what they did last year and get a wild card spot. But I think from what I've seen from them in the past couple weeks, um, it's been pretty
Yeah.
it's been pretty discouraging, and I think next year is going to be what we're looking forward to for most of the next 2 months.
Yeah. And I think, like, just to kind of go off your point, it's been so up and down between the Twins, Guardians, and Royals. They were all projected to be around a 500 team. So we shouldn't be surprised that those three teams, except for the Cleveland's recent 10 games, they're around a 500 team. The outlier is the Tigers, who have nobody has regressed, including an aging Javi Baez that has come out of the grave. Everyone else is just, I mean, the Twins, I think, like, I don't even know no one can compete with the Tigers. The Royals have the pitching to do it. You can certainly question if they have the offense to do it. I think the Twins, if they're playing well, can put up a fight against the Tigers, but not this year. They're too freaking far ahead, and they have too many underperforming players. I'm not going to tell you that the Twins have, like, a chance of taking the division. They certainly don't. They're a 500 team. But like I said last week, you can kind of see the names and be like, I believe in them. I believe in them. And they've had a good 10-game stretch, so I'm higher on them than I was last week, but who am I kidding? They're 3 games below 500. They're beating the Cubs right now. That's exciting. Cubs are a good team. But I don't know. I think they're going to be around 500 at the end of the year. We'll see. Dan?
Where do I begin?
No.
I'm glad I'm following Sam because, and I say this with the utmost respect to Sam, the Royals, the entire city of Kansas City. I feel like the Royals for the entirety of this year and the Guardians in June have been a social experiment in what it's like to have your team just be awful offensively and how that psychologically affects you. Because in both instances, both the Royals and the Guardians, it's not like we're the White Sox. No offense to them either. It's not like we're the Rockies. But the fact your team isn't scoring is just so psychologically frustrating.
Yeah.
And so I think when Sam tells the story about his dad being like, oh, really? They're not that far out of the wild card. I think that directly relates.
Yeah.
For those who hadn't noticed, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
For those who hadn't noticed, the Guardians had been in the midst of a 10-game losing streak until they had started a series in Houston this Monday. That is what I'm referring to mostly in what they've been suffering from lately. It really spanned the entire course of June, but really culminated with this 10-game losing streak that ended this week.
Yeah.
Just some facts from that, just to show how dire this was. Over the course of those 10 games, the Guardians were outscored 48-15.
Ouch.
It's an average score. It's an average score of 5 to 1.5 every game.
That's brutal.
Their WRC plus over the course of that 10 games was 39. The entire team.
Oh no.
Oh my
The next
God.
lowest was 79. More than double. Their slash line was one.
That's really bad.
No, it's your reactions are completely correct. Their slash line 166, 253, slugging 263. They scored 10. They scored 10 runs fewer than the 29th place team, which was Atlanta. They had 15 runs. Atlanta had 25. They're dead last in all three of those slash line metrics. Their position players were collectively worth negative 1.4 WAR. No other team was negative over the course of those 10 games. And by the way, maybe it's bad at ball luck. Maybe they just hit every hard ball right at somebody. No, last in xWOBA.
Ooh.
While not being last in barrels or whiff or K rate, by the way. So they were just not hitting the ball hard. They were making contact, but they weren't hitting the ball hard. Had one player above a WRC plus of 100. It was Gabriel Arias, who got hurt 4 games into the he got hurt 4 games into the losing streak.
Jesus.
What about the Stars? Jose Ramirez's slash line over the course of those 10 games. 097, 200, 194. By the way, this losing streak started on the day when he was hit by a pitch against Toronto, got hit in the forearm. So he's been banged up. One of the things that came out today was going to be in the news is he's actually not going to play in the All-Star game this year.
Yeah.
He's been hurt 3 different ways so far this year and hasn't missed all that much time. I think he's going to take the week to rest, or the 4 days to rest. But his WRC plus for those 10 games was -5. -5. Not 5, not 95, -5. Daniel Schneemann, 040 slugging. I've spoken glowingly about Schneemann in this space. He has been awful over that span.
040 slugging.
040 slugging in 28 plate appearances.
Is that a literal single?
I think so. In 28 plate appearances, that was the lowest slugging of anybody with 20 plate appearances over those 10 games.
Yeah, that tracks. I mean,
what about the pitching? The starters are actually pretty good. 11th in ERA. Something that was very shaky at the beginning of the year. Honestly, the way I've perceived it is, as this offense struggled, the starting pitching kind of rose to the challenge.
Yeah.
They knew what they were up against. They did fantastic against Detroit this past weekend. We can talk about that here in a little bit. But bullpen 24th in ERA, 5.14. And there's a lot going on in the background. We're going to talk about Luis Ortiz. I don't think it's a coincidence that all kind of occurred as this was going on. Kyle Manzardo left the team, family medical leave type situation. So there's been stuff also kind of boiling in the background as part of this. But now, to say all that, Guardians went to Houston on Monday and have won 2 in a row. And Angel Martinez, his last 2 at-bats, including the one he had in the first inning here tonight, have been home runs. And that was followed up with a home run by Jose Ramirez, and they're up 2-0 here in the first after taking the first 2 from the second best team in the AL. So I am here to say that I am ready to get hurt again. The upswing is happening. This team isn't all those things I just described. I get that this offense isn't murderer's row, but they're not that bad either. And so nobody can be. And so I'm curious to see what the second half brings. I do think it's kind of decision time in terms of, trade deadline and the like. I would not mortgage anything just to get into a wild card spot, I think that would be foolhardy. This team has proven itself to not be a team that can really compete for a World Series. Um, they need to hedge their bets here, and I'll be curious to see how the second half goes because I do think they could play better and get above 500 and fight for a wild card, but I don't feel strongly enough about their chances after that to really
what's the point
go win now.
What's the point of buying at the deadline just to get swept in the wild card?
Well,
they're gonna do their thing where ideally what they'll do is they'll make a trade like they have in the past where they find somebody who's real close to the majors or young, cost controlled, and can contribute this year, but also down the line. They've done that before. They did it with Manzardo. They traded Aaron Savali for Kyle Manzardo. There was I forget all the pieces in it now, but they made a trade several years ago for Franmil Reyes. Ultimately, that didn't work out in the long run. But the point at the time was he's a rookie and he's shown, growth, and there's the opportunity there for him to contribute for a long time. That's the kind of move they ought to be looking for. Is something that, it helps boost their chances here this year, but really it's about 26 and 27.
Right.
So,
and
thanks again. I know I've gone on a couple diatribes the last couple weeks, but I think it was warranted.
Yeah. So with the playoff, I disagree with a little. Like, if you have a chance to make the playoffs are such a crapshoot anyway. Just if you think you can actually get a wild card spot, you 100% should do it because you just might get hot for 3 weeks like the Royals did in 2015 and then just win the damn thing. But realistically, let's bring up the wild card standings here. In order for Cleveland to jump the standings, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 5 teams in front of them, and they are 5.5 games out. One of those, this is the Twins and the Royals are a game and a half above that. So this is equally as true for them as it is for the Guardians. If you think you're going to jump 5 spots over 2 months, go for it. But I don't think Boston, is underperformed. The Rangers have underperformed all year. Do you really believe they're a below 500 team?
Yeah, their offense has been bad, but it's been heating up, and their pitching staff is one of the best in the league.
The Angels, okay, I think we can all agree they're Angels, even though they have a losing record, probably punching above their weight. And then you have the Twins guard, and then that's where those teams are. Do you think the Mariners are going to fall off? Probably not. They're in the wild card spot. Do you think the Rays are going to fall off? Probably not. Do you think the Yankees are going to fall off? Probably not. So you have to hope the Mariners, who are probably the team that you could pick to lose that wild card spot. Good luck.
I think Tampa's punching above its weight a little bit, but
they do every year though.
I agree.
Yeah, and a lot of the conversations that we have about this assumes that the moves you make are going to propel you into the playoffs. When in reality, what's worse than not making the playoffs and not buying what's worse than losing in the playoffs is buying at the deadline and then not making the playoffs. And you put yourself in a worse position for the future, which is something that the Royals did in 2017.
The Tigers sold at the deadline last year. They made the playoffs. Anyway, 2 of the teams they sold to didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
They sold to the Rangers and the Giants. They didn't make the playoffs. It's a kind of a crapshoot. And do you really want to go we're going to go for it. We're under 500. We're just above 500. We're 5 teams back.
No.
But it's
So what you're saying is you don't want to have one big, beautiful trade deadline that sacrifices your future? Is that what we're saying?
Precisely.
Okay.
Precisely.
I just want to say that, my answer to that a moment ago was colored by this new expanded playoff with 6 teams in it. I think when you have this and you have so many teams, 2/3 of the league is within striking distance of the wild card. I think front offices now have to have an honest conversation with themselves about how serious they really are about competing this year.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy for everybody to squint their eyes and decide they're a buyer. And I don't necessarily think that's the correct move. Even if you're within striking distance of the wild card now, I think Hope You Get Lucky was a lot easier to stomach when there were fewer playoff teams.
No, and that's all fair. And I think like what I should probably say too, and I'm not trying to walk back my point, but I think if you legitimately think you can get the wild card spot, go for it. But it's going to depend on the last like 3 games before the trade deadline, because some team of those 6 teams, some team is going to go 8-2, one team is going to go 2-8, and that's when you're really going to decide if you can sell. But if you don't hop a couple of teams, and like luckily the Twins, Royals, and Angels are all 4 games back, and the Rangers are all within a half game, and then there's a gap to the White Sox or to the Red Sox. You could jump and then be just behind the Red Sox. That's a manageable jump, but you can't expect to jump 4 or 5 teams, especially when they're this cluttered.
Yeah, that's the thing that happens very rarely, and it happened already. It happened last year. It took a series of events to get there. Like, it's not going to happen every year. Sorry, I keep having to mention it because it's very funny.
Is it?
Is
it funny?
Yeah.
So
seeing you react to it every time is.
Oh well. All right, Lee, we've kicked the Tigers around a bit here. How have they been playing? 8-2 over the last 10, so good, of course.
Yeah, good. We're kind of worried over the month of June because they weren't playing bad. They were playing 500. And I talked a bit about the pitching problems, but
Hold on. The Tigers were playing bad. They were playing 500.
Playing bad. I said they were not.
Did you listen? The thing I just did 10 minutes ago with the.
I said they were not playing bad. They were playing good, but they're.
She said the Tigers fan base has been very concerned over 500 baseball.
Yeah,
did they have a WRC plus above 39 for 10 games?
Hey, I didn't say I was going to finish that sentence. You cut me off.
I'm sorry. Please proceed. My apologies.
My point was, we were a little concerned because they were playing 500 against a lot of teams that are maybe not the best. We weren't exactly, we passed the most difficult part of our schedule. This was the easiest part of our schedule. We played 500. We played good, but it wasn't,
right.
You'd like to be if you're going to be a World Series competing team, you'd like to be, winning 2 out of 3 every time. But it's a little, right. It's a whole thing. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about playing 500 ball. My point is, It was not the best play we've seen from them this season.
The larger point.
I didn't mean to make you self-conscious. Please give your honest assessment of the Tigers.
But they've been playing a lot better recently. We got Reese Olson back, which is huge for our bullpen and our starting rotation because you don't have to go as much. That was very big for us. The big news in the Tigers system is that our big 3 prospects got pulled up to AA. Max Clark, Kevin McGonigal, and Jose Briseño all came up to AA Erie. So they had their first games there yesterday. I believe they all got a hit. Max Clark got a home run today. Briseño got a home run yesterday. So that's good. That's very exciting for the, in terms for the fan base. But yeah, it just felt good to. Sorry, go ahead.
It's very exciting for those moon mammoths.
Yeah.
Right.
Their first games at Erie are going to be when they debut the moon mammoths.
Nice.
That's going to be
nice.
Yeah.
How far is Erie from where you live, Lee?
It's like 4.5, 5 hours ish. Depends on the traffic patterns and whatnot. I could conceivably go, but the ticket prices for the Moon Mammoth games are like through the roof. It's like $300. I'm not going to that.
How much?
Sure.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Did you say $300?
That's where some of them are going for. Yeah, because it's all secondary market stuff.
Oof.
It's insane.
Oof.
They sold out pretty fast, and then it's resellers.
And the second time that the Moon Mammoths, then it's that ticket will probably be reasonable.
Yeah. I thought about it, but then I was like, it's 4 hours, 4.5. I'd probably have to stay the night there and then drive back, and it's and it's the cost of $100 for a ticket at this point because of course it is. Thanks for nothing, scalpers. But
I do
write it off as a business expense.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, just charge it to the AL Central Rundown expense.
Again, there's no expense account. I really don't like the way this is going.
I think that's just Eric's credit card.
I will not confirm or deny. So I do think it's kind of so like you said, like the Tigers like fan base was a little bit concerned over 500. And I feel like maybe the Twins do this because we're waiting. Like when things are good, they can't possibly
waiting for the shoe to
this
drop.
good. Like, and you're
Yeah.
waiting for your heart to be broken. And any sign of that, it's just funny that
That's the thing. Detroit sports has been miserable for the past decade. Until the Lions got good 2 years ago, the Pistons suddenly got good, and the Tigers suddenly got good. But the decade before that was absolutely miserable. So we're all just waiting to be miserable again. Is pretty much what it is. We're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
well, and even worse, you have fans that want to feel good about their sports decisions. So like the fans that want to be right and say like this guy sucks, the manager sucks, this all sucks, they have to shut up for a minute and they're just waiting for their moment of like, ooh, they've went 3-7 this last 10. Let's take the suck out of everything, or let's take the fun out of everything for everyone.
Pretty much.
So
yeah,
they'll come back.
Though I will say sweeping the Guardians did feel very good. Just in terms of one, the Guardians beat the crap out of us every year for the past God knows how long. And two, we played them very poorly earlier in the year. To go to Cleveland and play them this well, we didn't even play particularly well in terms of offense, but we still managed to get the wins each time. It feels very good in terms of we can beat these guys, right? It's not just so it's kind of a lot. I don't know how to word that exactly, but point is, beating the Guardians felt good because it feels like, okay, we aren't just going to lose to these guys every time.
I think there's a lot of teams saying we can beat these guys in relation to the Guardians recently.
Well, that's one of the funny, like the podcast that I always quote, Gleeman and the Geek. Like the big thing Aaron Gleeman always says is, if you're looking at the schedule and you can't find the easy win, you're the easy win. Like, and that's kind of, the Tigers are no longer looking at like the Twins and being like, that'll be, nope, can probably take that.
Oh, damn.
Can probably take that. Can probably take that.
It's very surreal. Like, you know what I've done for the past few years? Like around this time, I would go through the standings, count every team that had a worse record than us, and be like, see, we're better than these 6 teams, and feel a tiny bit better about it. But it feels really good to look at a schedule in like a month and be like, we can probably beat those guys. We can probably beat those guys. That one's going to be a bit tricky. Yeah. We're definitely going to beat those guys. It's a very different feeling from what it's been the past 8 years.
Right.
So you could still do that exercise. You would just be like, oh, it's every team. What do you know?
Yeah.
29.
And then the Dodgers. Which that would be kind of fun. So let's pretend the ultimate, like, again, it's way too early to think about this. The playoffs will do whatever. But the first series of the year was for the Tigers was the Dodgers. So what if
they swept us. So
that wasn't pretty.
It wasn't pretty, but we were in those games. Like there wasn't, like, maybe not the last one as much, but like we were a one hit with the runner in scoring position in games 1 and 2, and Manny Margot not stumbling around third away from winning those 2 games.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
does that mean that that World Series matchup has to be played in Japan?
Basically, I don't see why it wouldn't.
Full circle.
Anyway,
I guess the TLDR for how the Tigers have done, it's felt good. It's been the best week.
Oh, has it now?
Yeah, it's felt good. Just because I experienced joy and you haven't experienced joy doesn't mean that I can't experience joy.
Yes,
all right?
We have to knock that joy out of you. Like,
thanks for reminding me how miserable Twins, Royals, and Guardians baseball has been. It does feel good to know. It's a little bit better over here.
Speaking of things that are joyful, let's play a quick game called Guess How Long the Home Run that Jack Caglione just hit was.
467.
424.
472.
Eric's the winner. It was 466.
Oh!
By 1 foot.
All right. I was about to say, Price is Right rules, though. Lee wins it.
Dang.
All right.
Who are you playing right now?
To go off of
the Pirates.
They have good pitching, though.
That was true 2 months ago. I don't know how good it is anymore. I think it's just skiing and a lot of blah.
I had a question for you, Dan, for the Guardians. So, because I know Jose Ramirez went on that stretch for like 6-7 games, whatever, where he was like 0-21, and I know the rest of the offense was like slumping hard. But how much worse do you think this team is without Jose Ramirez? I guess this is my question.
If he was on the IL or whatever.
Like if he was on the IL, yeah. What if you took him off this roster and he was out for the rest of the season? How much of a difference does that make in that? Because I'm like, he's really carrying that offense.
Yeah, and Quan.
They're a regular last place team without him. I think when I say regular, I mean
in a division without the White Sox.
Yeah, I don't mean the White Sox. Like I don't mean to bag on them, but not the Rockies, not the White Sox, but a regular, like the Nationals or the Athletics, or they're a regular last place team.
They're in the dumpster. It's just not on fire.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that just because, I mean, coincidences happen, and it's not like he's the only one who was underperforming, but like he's underperforming and the team loses 10 in a row.
And I'm sure if Cleveland fans listen to this, they'd be like, "What are you, crazy? We would be that horrible." I really don't. I think that's a little reactionary and a little bit colored by what just happened over the last 10 games. But legitimately, I think the pitching is improved. I think they'd just be a regular bad team.
Yeah,
They'd be in like the nice dumps, like the nice trash bin by someone's house.
Not the one that doesn't have any food in it or anything.
Yeah, not like the dirty back alley, disgusting dumpster.
But close.
You're raiding dumpsters.
Well, I have no transition for this, so the All-Star rosters came out. You know that thing we said we would start at the top of the episode with?
And then we got distracted.
Now we're a half hour in. We're a chatty bunch. What can we say? So the All-Star rosters came out, so that's definitely worth talking about for a bit, especially the AL Central, who's actually pretty well represented because Detroit, didn't do a clean sweep, but did pretty well for themselves. The All-Star rosters, again, 4 now. The starters for the fan vote for the American League, we already went over these, but Gleyber Torres at second, Jose Ramirez at third, Riley Green in the outfield, Javi Baez in the outfield, and then the All-Star reserves were called. Bobby Witt to get called in for the infield, and Zach McKinstry was just added, I believe, today. Is that correctly?
Yeah.
And then Buxton was added when the rosters were announced, and so was Quan. So that makes 8 different AL Central star representatives, 4 for the Tigers in the infield. We're going to talk about the pitchers in a second. These are just their stats from Baseball Reference for this year. I thought it was worth looking at. Just see where that. Bobby Witt, I don't think it's any surprise, is the best player in the division. I think there's very little chatter about that. And then it's also just nice to see that Byron Buxton is healthy, playing in an All-Star game. But before I talk about that, let's go get our thoughts on their All-Stars.
I had a whole thing prepared for if Zach McKinstry wasn't going to make the All-Star game, but now I don't have anything prepared. I'm just happy he's in. He deserves it. He's having a great season. He had a great series against Tampa and against Cleveland too. So it's just good. He's the second Central Michigan alumni to ever make the All-Star game. It's a fun fact.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. I didn't go to CMU, but I have a couple friends who went to Central. So, and it's a Michigan college, so it's kind of fun local thing.
Yeah. And I think this would go, but not to like harp on you too. I think it would be like if Zach McKinstry getting it in, like we're not shown here at school, but we're going to show them in a second. But to have just 4 All-Stars instead of 5, I think that would be.
Yeah, I was like, well, I can't really complain. We have 4 All-Stars, but also like last year the Phillies had 8, so you know.
And that's all. And like the year the Royals won the World Series, I think they had like 6 or something like that.
Yeah,
so.
They had like 6 starters.
I was just about to say that was the year where, in the fan vote, I think in like the first or second update, the Royals had 8 of the 9.
It was Mike Trout and then the Royals.
It was Mike Trout and then all Royals. So I don't remember how many, because then there was like an anti-Royals push
which was
after that.
ridiculous.
But if I remember correctly, I think the Royals got 5 or 6
I remember
total, not
being
just.
that was 2015.
Yeah,
I
that
remember
was.
being so annoyed at the
Yeah,
Royals because I wanted a bunch of Tigers and I got 13. So I was
Right.
yeah.
annoyed at minor things. But
And so
I was
as a fan of that team, I'm a big fan of All-Star Game memes. And
Yeah.
so seeing Javi Baez as a starting
Can we
outfielder for the All-Star Game, I
can
love
we
yeah.
get
it.
into
I
this?
love it for the memes.
All right, Eric, Dan, I know you both have very strong opinions on
I,
this.
so this would
Get
work
it
a lot
off.
better if I had a visual, and I think we just blew it because we know what we're talking about. But I want to do a blind comparison real quick. It's not really a blind comparison, but I'm going to do my best.
Okay,
Player
Nick
one,
Wright.
player one. Thank you. Uh, player one, 119 WRC plus, 27 extra base hits, 11 steals, 13 defensive runs saved, 2.4 WAR. Player
Okay.
two, 115 WRC plus, 24 extra base hits. That's 3 less. 1 steal, 1 defensive run saved, 1.7 WAR. If you were to choose which of those two individuals should be starting in the All-Star game, player one
Well,
or player two?
can player one play shortstop?
I'll pick Javi
That
Baez.
is not why he was in. Don't you bring up shortstop. He did not
No, but
win the fan vote for shortstop.
no, but player one can take a ball. So
Well, this is
Okay, but consider this is way funnier.
and here's the,
ultimately, I'll say this. I wouldn't call it meme, but I do appreciate narrative. So Baez is in because of narrative. Good for him. Um, I'm playing it as though I'm very upset about this. I would have preferred to see Quan, but I get it's a good story for Baez.
yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted him just for the bit of 2025 Javier Baez as a starting center fielder for the All-Star game. It's very funny.
Yeah, and like
I don't care. Look, I don't care if he goes out there, plays 1 inning, strikes out swinging at a ball 3 feet outside of the box, and then doesn't play anymore. I just wanted him to be there because
Yeah.
that's so cool.
and to like it's fair. And like we just talked about 10 minutes about how the Tigers have been the best team in the American League. They should have the most all-stars. They can, so like even when I said like even for them to stat 4 all-stars versus 5, they deserve to have the most. They're by far the best rounded team in the American League.
That's the thing. Like I mentioned, the Phillies had 8 all-stars last year, right? But a lot their team is based on players they brought in on free agency and like established stars, right? The Tigers roster is very well rounded in terms of you got Tarek Skubal, you got Riley Green, who's a budding superstar, and then it's a bunch of just good players. That's not like stars, if that makes sense. So I kind of yeah.
And I think it speaks to the fact that six of the 8 players in this image are homegrown talent.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So
Yeah. And then those big money market Tigers with the two hired mercenaries.
Yeah. That's us. The
Anyway,
big free agent spenders.
I'm going to switch the slide. I don't think there's a lot of value in this next slide. I just thought it would be kind of fun to see because I just did their career stats. So if anyone was interested, here are the career stats for all of those players. Baez, I mean, just with the Tigers. Zach McKinstry's, I think, played for a couple years. The one thing that really like shot out at me, other than right now lock up Jose Ramirez in the Hall of Fame, I think the question for Jose, as far as like B-War, I know Fangraphs has a different setup. Dan, you can probably answer this. Can he get to 70 wins? Jose Ramirez.
Yeah. I think he could. I mean,
He's at 54 and
15?
he's 55 right now.
He's 15 away. Yeah, definitely. I think that's a very good possibility.
Yeah. So
I think he's to be right around 5 WAR for a few years. I think is not insurmountable. Maybe not perfectly likely, but I think he gets there. Yeah,
what is he, 32?
I believe so. I'll check.
So you're
I did want
thinking,
to mention
yeah, go ahead.
on him. This is his 7th All-Star appearance. 8 would tie him for the most in Cleveland history with Bob Feller.
Oh wow.
So
Ooh, that's a good name.
yeah, so that's where he's kind of placed himself in terms of franchise history as well.
The other stat that kind of like surprised me. Let's all look at Bobby Witt's career games. He's played 4 years. He has 562 games. He has been remarkably durable in those games. Byron Buxton has been in the league for, I think this is his 12th or 11th year, and Bobby Witt has like 300 less games than him. That is like very surprising, and also like their WAR. Like Bobby Witt has 19 WAR because again, it's only 4 years.
Riley Green has been in the
Has
league the same
Buxton had
amount.
a lot of injuries?
Who?
Has Buxton had a lot of injuries?
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard. He's had quite a few, like here and there.
Okay. Okay.
Riley Green has been in the league the same amount of time as Bobby Witt, and he's had an injury history, and he's already at half the games that Buxton has.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Which is like I was thinking about this the other because like Buxton this season has really been like the sole like reason for hope for the Twins lineup. Like he's at 28. He had 28 wins right now. He's 31. Center fielders, I mean, his value is probably going to start decreasing. 34. I don't think he's the type of player who's going to age particularly well. He has a lot of swing and mess. He's not particularly patient, even though that is kind of helping. That's growing, as you would expect. But like, if he can become a 40-win player, he's at 28-2 right now. I think then you can start to argue the injuries may have kept him out of the Hall of Fame. Because then you just kind of debate, did he lose 10 WAR? 10 is like 50 WAR is about the cutoff to me if you're considered a Hall of Fame player. But maybe that's just me being a severe homer. But he's not there yet. He's at 28. I just thought that was fun. Yeah. Anything else that really jumps off at the gate for anyone in here?
I have one thing I wanted to ask Sam, and maybe you answered this with your statement about memes earlier, but do you feel any way about Witt not being a starter over Jacob Wilson?
I don't. I think Jacob Wilson has had probably he's a rookie, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
He's had one of the best rookie seasons I've seen in a while. And I think he kind of, when you just look at the stats side by side, I think this season particularly, I'd say he deserves to be in there. Now, if Bobby had not made it at all, which I don't think was ever going to happen because because of his name and because of who he is, I think he's always going to be there so long as he's having a decent season. Then I might feel some kind of way about it, but I'm not too worried about Wilson getting the nod over Bobby for the um, starting job. I will say, however, though, Jacob Wilson has got to be one of the most generic names of all time, and also he has to be one of the most generic looking ball players I've seen in a while. So, yeah.
Jacob Wilson's having a great season. His batting average is 335. That's
not generic.
Yeah. We can't hear you, by the way, Eric.
If you're batting 335, it doesn't matter. Eric, you're muted.
We cannot hear you, Eric.
Hi, I'm back now. I muted myself.
Hello.
Like every bad millennial on Zoom. I'm interested in his home. I know this is what I really wanted to see. So his OPS plus at home is 150 because it is a launching pad in Oakland, but even as away is a 121 OPS plus. So really.
When you play the Tigers, the only negative thing I have to say about Jacob Wilson is that his batting stance gives me an aneurysm because he's just constantly moving, and it's very annoying.
Awesome.
See, I miss This is maybe like a side tangent. I miss funky batting stances. Everyone is so robotic and the same. I want a Gary Sheffield, even though he torched the Twins. I want a Chuck Knobloch.
It's
like,
not
holding
even
the
that he's
bat
just
over.
moving his
I want a
entire
Kevin
body.
Youkilis.
It's like an
Yeah.
NPC, like it's like a character selection, and it's just the constant movement. I'm like,
That's fine. It's something different.
It's
I'll take
cool, but it's like also very annoying visually on the television. So.
Fair enough. See, I don't know, like why you hate it is probably the reason I would love it. I haven't noticed it, but now I'm gonna be looking for it. But I just
once you notice it, you can never unsee it. I'm like, oh my God, he is moving.
I miss the days where you just had. They're not trying to be old man yelling at cloud here, but like when you ask Gary Sheffield, why did you swing that way? He was like, I don't know, it felt good. Like I want that to come back a little bit, like because it was fun. Why did Jeff Bagwell crouch into like a the strike zone this big? Because it felt good. I wanted to do it. Like anyway.
Yeah, Buxton's going to be in the home run derby, which is really neat.
That's really fun. I don't know how well he will do in it, though. With that said,
it's also how I learned that his children's names are. He has a son named Brixton. I'm like, I can't decide if that's good or bad.
That's not even the best name in that child, and that his brother has a better name because his little brother is named Blaze. Blaze
awesome.
Buxton. If you're not fast,
yeah, Blaze is good. Yeah, Brixton, Buxton. I mean,
he can't play basketball, but that's fine. But yes, they had Brixton like announce his dad, kind of like what Stephen Boat did his last. They announced Buxton over the intercom, and that was kind of a cool moment for him. But yeah, I don't know how well Buxton will do in the home run derby because he does not take outdoor batting practice. So he's doing it because he's from Georgia. I think he grew up 3 hours out of Atlanta, and it's in Atlanta this year. So that's going to be really fun for him. So why the hell not? But I hope he does really well. I also hope, like, what's going to suck is if he has a slight drop off, they're going to be like, ooh, the home run derby knocked off his swing. Bull crap that they always say.
Yeah, I don't know how much I believe in that. I think that's always just like
it does.
Someone falls off in the second half and they go, it was the home run derby. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
So
they had a good 3 months followed up by a mediocre 3 months. Like, it's all crap.
Yeah, I was hoping like Riley Green would be in it, but I guess he doesn't want to this year because last year he said that he was interested. But AJ Hinch was on the radio this morning and he said the only guy interested in it is Torque, and I do not want Torque to be in the home run derby because I think that would mess with him too much. But I guess everyone is like they just want to be healthy and not focus on winning right now because last season they weren't winning, so it didn't really matter as much.
Yeah,
but yeah, and they haven't. Yeah, I mean they're so beat up. It's kind of.
Right. And you're going to have like Ramirez just pulled out. I mean, other players are going to pull out. There's no reason to think that, Bobby Witt doesn't have to prove anything. He's still going to get the all-star tag on his baseball reference page. He's still, whatever. But let's talk about the pitchers. There's not as many names because they didn't take as many this year, but I don't know how many pitchers they typically take. I feel like it's more than 12. Maybe I'm wrong.
I thought it was 13. I thought it was like 7 and then 6.
Yeah, there's not a lot of relievers, which I do agree with, that they should have as many relievers. Anyone who wants to complain that their ex-reliever in the bullpen should have made it over these guys, all of these guys basically have like a sub-2 ERA. So
it's hard to argue against any of those guys.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, also, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Good for Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah.
We're still doing it at this at his advanced age.
Goddamn. He's like, we talked about this before. He's like 35. He's an all-star. He's throwing 103 out there. I mean,
just because I want to see how bad I'm insulted because we just talked about him as if he's an ancient man. Oh, he's 37.
He's 37.
I'm 37 in like 3 weeks. Thank you guys. I did that.
Well, Eric, you also cannot and probably have never been able to throw a baseball at 100 miles an hour plus.
But you haven't seen me not do it.
Well, yeah. Yes.
I will not confirm or deny.
Do you
next week on the AL Central rundown?
Do you currently have the same athletic ability as you did when you were 23.
I mean, I was a tubby. I mean, I've definitely gained some
Okay.
weight since then. So, like, I think it's probably closer than it needs to be.
Well, anyway, my point is, yeah, I'm good to see him
Yeah,
still, still getting All-Star game nods. I might have liked to see Estevez, just because
sure.
he's been having a pretty good year. And again, if you pitch on Sunday, you can't pitch in the All-Star game. So
Or
I think a
Saturday.
lot of Saturday or Sunday now.
Well, some teams, if you pitch Saturday, they don't want you. So,
Okay.
like, they will pull
Anyway,
their starter.
yeah, but anyway, point is there's going to be some names added to this list with 100% certainty.
They already have.
Um,
Hunter
yeah,
Brown opted out.
yes, exactly. So, yeah, but good to see Bubic,
Yep.
get the nod for the All-Star game. He's been one of the best in the league this year, and especially with the Royals making the somewhat bold move to trade away Brady Singer in the offseason.
Yeah.
Bubic was kind of the replacement for him, and to see him make the All-Star game, I think is a sign of a very good move by the Royals.
Yeah. And then the White Sox got Shane Smith, and I think that's it for the American League Central for pitchers. I think we can agree those are the two best pitchers in the division.
Mm-hmm.
That it? Anyway.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, Scooble's in there. As
Oh, that's right. Who's he? Is he good?
Yeah, just a little bit.
So, we talked about it. Hunter Brown did drop out. Joe Ryan was the replacement. That was the only gripe I had. Like, if you even want to call it a gripe, Joe Ryan did get in. He's in now. Everyone in Minnesota can calm the F down. Everyone put down the hand grenades. It's fine now.
Yeah.
This just shows just like, well, one, like, it's very easy to look at this and like crap on Shane Smith and be like, how can they, like, the one all-star representative? Fine. Shane Smith has been perfectly fine. Is this the best you've seen a rookie pitch? No, but he's having a good season for a really bad team. They're also
He's also a Rule 5 draft guy. He was picked off waivers.
Even just the story, like,
so it's cool.
Yes, good for him.
I also
go ahead.
I'm surprised his numbers are as poor as they were. I feel like his stuff. I think this is the thing where, like, I'm under the impression coaches and players vote on the reserves, where this was a bit of a we respect this guy, we think he's going to be something down the line kind of vote, because he's shown a lot better than his numbers suggest at times.
His FIP is a little bit lower at 4.04 over.
That's what I was gonna. That's what I was gonna bring up. His FIP is good. The only other possible option they had Adrian Hauser. I'll just pull up his reference page here. I don't even think it doesn't even look like he's pitched for that much for the White Sox. But Adrian Hauser has pitched 52 innings. He's putting together a nice season. He has a 1.1 WHIP, a 1.60 ERA as a starter, but it's in 50 innings. But you could, I guess, kind of count that. That's not many more innings than, I guess, a late inning reliever that's been abused. We were probably at 30, 35 innings at this point. But yeah. Bubic looks great, and then obviously Skubal. I do think I'm happy Joe Ryan made it so that I can add him to this slide, because I think he has been very under the radar. Everyone knows he's good, but I don't think they quite know how good he has been. So it's nice to see him up there. 2.76 ERA. A lot of strikeouts, only behind Skubal on this list. Second behind Skubal. I mean, he's going to be second behind Skubal.
Yeah, when you put Skubal next to all these guys, it kind of makes it very hard to make.
When it's the best pitcher in the world versus just mortal men, it's not going to look great. But then, even that said, Bubic has really looked good this year. I think it'll be, the Cy Young race might come down to Skubal, Bubic, and Max Fried.
Hunter Brown is in there. He's been really good. I mean, I know he got blown up by the Guardians last start, but, I mean, he's been really good. So, I think I don't know how much biased I am, but I really feel like Skubal is just running away with it. He's better than he was last year.
Yeah, it tracks. I mean, right now he's on pace for, what's he going to pitch? 32 innings. So we're probably 8 8.5.
He's probably going to do 31 starts.
Yeah.
Which is how many he did last year.
Then their career stats, again, I don't know how much value you really want to put from this other than Scooble is still really good, but even same thing, Joe Ryan, four-year starter. He's certainly not as good as Scooble. I'm not going to mention that, but he's closer than I think people would suspect he had been. But I think he's also played longer than Scooble, too, so let's take that with a huge grain of salt.
So I'm curious on your guys' opinions of who should start the All-Star game, because I feel like because AJ Hinch was on 97.1 this morning, and he hinted that it's probably going to be Max Fried, because I guess he talked to Boone and all that stuff. Max Fried has the advantage of Boone is the manager, he's the manager, blah blah blah, but also he's going back to Atlanta where he spent a lot of time, et cetera, et cetera. So but also it's last year Scooble should have started the All-Star game, except it went to Corbin Burns because Corbin Burns has a longer history of et cetera, et cetera. And so now it's a second year that Scooble's not going to get the starting nod. And so it's a
Can you name me who started the All-Star game 2 seasons ago?
I didn't watch the All-Star game 2 seasons
That's a good, yes, exactly. So it's all...
I was gonna make the same point, and I think that goes into when I was talking about Bobby Witt Jr. not being the starter. You get the star next to your page on Baseball Reference, no matter what. And especially now, with the All-Star game just being for funsies, all it means is these guys get a leg up in arbitration.
Yeah. Also, I mean, my thing is, Scooble has said repeatedly that it would mean a lot to start the All-Star game, but also he's also said it's fine if I don't. But I just think it'd be really cool for him to start the All-Star game. We'll have to see next year what the reason is that he doesn't start the All-Star game inevitably.
Right. Well, and eventually...
He's not going to say anything else other than, it would mean a lot to me to start the All-Star game.
Right.
We were great.
He's also probably, really cool. If he doesn't start, he's probably not going to pitch, which sucks.
Well, that's still fine, though. I mean, again, it's...
Well, someone's got to pitch.
Right.
9 innings of an All-Star game,
And they're only going to throw 15 pitches.
At some point, you got to find 9 guys who are willing to go out there.
Yeah, he said because Hinch kind of implied that he wouldn't pitch because he doesn't want he wants to focus on not throw a bunch and et cetera, but he'll still go but not pitch. So
right.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of on I want him to be recognized as a starter, but also it doesn't mean anything. But
I was gonna say it's a gigantic bullpen game, so
yeah.
I mean, does it matter if he pitched the first inning, or the third inning? As long as he's not the guy that gives up the losing run. But even then,
he's not gonna. If he doesn't pitch the first inning, he said he doesn't want to pitch because he just doesn't want to. So, yeah.
Clearly, it does mean something. I'm kind of the mind of that it doesn't matter in the grand scheme, no. But I do get the pop and circumstance of it, and quite frankly, Scooble should be the starting, assuming the rotation works out too, of course. But
he's scheduled to pitch on Friday, which annoys me because he was originally supposed to pitch on Saturday, and I'm going to Saturday's game, but I'll get to watch Casey Mize. So I'm gonna have to find another game to go to so I can watch Scooble pitch. Yeah. But maybe I shouldn't, because last year I went and I saw Scooble pitch, and then he had his worst start of the season against the Royals. So maybe not.
It was his worst start. Lee, did he give up 3 runs? He gave up. I think it was 5. Salvi got a home run. It was.
To me, Lee, it sounds like a really good idea. You should go to a game that Scooble's pitching.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Go to the rest of them.
Yeah. Mark your calendar.
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah. Well. Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just kind of thinking about it because I was reading because there's a Reddit thread about it. About who's starting the All-Star game and stuff like that. So I think it kind of boils. It doesn't mean anything, but it does mean something, but it realistically doesn't. But it's we can't decide how much it means, right?
Which probably means it doesn't mean much. It's an honor. I don't know. They got picked for the team, guys. They did it.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on the All-Star game format, home run derby format? How much do we care about this thing anymore? Atlanta got its All-Star game back because after it got pulled a couple of years ago, Sam is distraught and had to leave. Never mind, he's back.
I think the home run derby was better when it was like X amount of pitches versus being timed, because having being timed is silly. And was it last year or 2 years ago where whoever was pitching to Otani completely screwed it up, and it's just the timing was all off, and so it doesn't mean anything, but like we can at least make it better, right?
Yeah, I mean, with the home run, like, I realize, like, because back in, like, the steroid era, those rounds would take a hot minute to finish, and you would get, like, I remember when Josh Hamilton, if any, he was at Yankee Stadium in, like, 2008.
Yeah.
Justin Morneau actually won that, but, like, Josh Hamilton hit, like, 20 or 30 home runs in a round and was just gassed, like legitimately like blowing hard, and he couldn't do it. So like I get why they changed it, but yes, it was more fun when it was just 10 outs and hit as many as you can.
Well, I think the idea of having it just be unlimited, like you can just go up there and hit infinitely many home runs, is kind of like, it's fun in a way, but it also makes it a little bit more, the idea of being able to have a buzzer beater in baseball is pretty cool. And I think that doing it that way, I understand why they do it, but I think there was a little bit more purity to it when it was just mash as many as you possibly can.
I didn't think I was going to have a very strong opinion on this, and it turns out I actually do, because I remembered my gripe about the current format of the home run derby. It is not a home run derby. It is a which batting practice pitcher is best at throwing good batting practice pitches derby is what it is now because of the time limit. That said, the old format was way too long. So I don't know what the answer is. Uh, but I do think that if you're looking for sanctity in your home run derby, then the current format is not a good one. Um, I mean the entirety of that sentence, though. Are you looking for sanctity in your home run derby? I don't know. That's up to you guys.
Yeah.
The home run derby it's just fun to watch a bunch of home runs. It's also fun watching a bunch of kids run around in the outfield, and you get they crash into each other. It's good.
I'm gonna
It's
try to
good.
find it, but they just showed this on the Twins broadcast, and I can't find the clip on YouTube right now. The first home run derby was in the Metrodome, and what was funny, they had like a high school team shag the fly balls, which is what made me just think of it. Some kid robbed a home run. The first home run derby. And, like, this probably tells you like how high the Metrodome like walls were, because like it's not like he jumped all that high. He just basically reached up, and then you see, like, I think Justin Morneau was like sitting in like for tonight when they showed the clip, and I think Morneau said, "I would have ran into the outfield and like yelled at that kid." But how great is that?
I saw when O'Neal Cruz was announced that he's going to be in it. I just love the comments up. I can't wait to watch some kid take a 110 liner to the face.
I can't wait to see O'Neal Cruz swing and miss in the home run derby.
Yeah. Oh, I can't. I'm gonna find this if it's the last thing I do, because it was just such a funny clip to have.
That's so funny. I hadn't heard of that. That's great.
I hadn't either before this morning, or before like 2 hours ago, but I didn't realize, one, the first one was in the Metrodome, and two, a kid had the play of his life.
If I remember correctly, the first couple home run derbies were not televised.
Really? Oh, I don't know that, I guess.
Really?
Maybe. Yeah, I would believe it.
Were like,
what's the point
like
of a home run derby doing it?
I don't know.
Put it on TV.
I don't know.
It's like,
think
hey guys, we hit a bunch of home runs. This guy won, by the way. Like what?
Trust us.
Yeah, I remember
the fans
because I remember it was something where it's like maybe in like the late '80s there was someone who was in it. I don't know.
And like I just read, because like obviously during the steroid era, I remember like Ken Griffey made it the coolest thing on earth with the backwards hat, and then McGuire like kept leaving Fenway Park that one year, and then it really like, and then you had Chris Berman like with the call, like the back, like people love that. So like that was the peak of the mid '90s to what the 2000s, and kind of dropped off.
Because people weren't on steroids anymore.
What?
Yeah, from 1985 to 1992, the Home Run Derby was not televised.
Wow. What's the point of it
19
then if you're not putting it on TV?
I guess
I
it was
don't
just
know.
part of like the local fans, like part of FanFest or whatever, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
They probably didn't call it FanFest back then, but
Huh.
this is really like silly, but I miss having the home run derby and then having the celebrity softball game on afterward.
Oh, that is fun. Yep, I do think
Yeah.
that's
I
fun.
don't do
Yep.
that anymore, I don't think. I think the celebrity softball game gets shown on like MLB Network on
Yeah, I don't
Sunday
even know how to
Mhm.
watch it.
at noon or
It's
something. It was so much better when it was just on after the derby.
yeah.
Honestly, it was just better when I was 14 and didn't have to go to school the next day or work. So, what can you do?
Yep,
I
I'm just
mean,
trying to find this.
non sequitur, but I'm very glad that they're bringing back the everyone wears the team uniforms. They stopped
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to
That
make
is fun.
yeah.
I agree. Is the NBA's doing that as well? Isn't they? Aren't they?
I don't know.
I think
Well,
so.
the NBA changed their whole All-Star game because now it's like a 3-on-3 competition, isn't it?
I
Is
heard
it?
it's like super lame, but I'm
It's
not
a
really into
series.
basketball.
I think it's like a series of 3-on-3 games now is the NBA All-Star game.
That's what they did last year. They haven't decided what they're doing for this coming year.
Okay.
The rumor is they're going to do like a country base, like USA versus the world or whatever they can kind of cobble together based upon who gets voted in.
I just
I
know
think that
it's has a reputation for being super lame, especially because like this past year is at the same time as the Four Nations hockey, and because you can just compare the two. In Four Nations hockey, they're dropping gloves and having fist fights every 10 seconds, and
did
it's
the
the
NHL
comparison.
cancel the All-Star game next year?
I don't know. Don't I'm not into
I I
hockey really.
believe I believe if I remember correctly, I saw that the NHL canceled All-Star game for next season.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah.
So
The
then, can we?
2026 NHL All-Star game was canceled. Oh, it was canceled because it's going to coincide with the Winter Olympics.
Oh, that's
Which
fair.
That
are
makes
going
sense.
to have the NHL players in at this time. So,
Yes.
Nice.
yeah.
So then, can we agree? Like, as much as the All Star game maybe not be interesting, to us, it's probably the most competitive All Star Pro Bowl,
It's the best one of the four.
Yeah, probably.
which is a
I mean,
low
I
bar.
watched the NFL Pro Bowl for the first time last year. It was fun. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. It's silly. Like it doesn't.
Right.
It's not competitive at all. Like they're having,
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you watched it, but like they had a giant foam pit, and everyone kept jumping in the foam pit every time they made a touchdown or an interception or something. And I'm like, this is fantastic. It's so stupid. I love it.
The idea to have the NFL All-Star game as flag football, to have the Pro Bowl as flag football, is an idea that my dad has been proselytizing about since I was like a small child. Like he's been saying that for so many years that they should switch it to flag football, and they finally did. So I
Did
think,
your
and
dad
I
watch it?
meant he does watch it a little bit, yeah.
All
Um,
right.
but I think I saw. I mentioned at the top when we were just chatting before we hit record. I really feel like the battle to have competitive all-star games has really been lost. Like that's a fight that just is so far gone at this point,
Because no
and it
one wants
wouldn't.
their players to get injured over it.
Yeah,
I think Pete Rose and the Roy Fossey thing, like, really, that was a turn. I know that was like 1972, but that was a real turning point of like, do we care this much?
yeah, and I mean, they tried to make the MLB All-Star Game mean something, but everyone hated it with the
I
home field advantage
But
thing.
that's yeah. I mean, it
I'm
should be down to record because the All Star game doesn't mean anything because you have so many players that opt out of it anyway. And
I'm one of three people on the planet Earth who likes that. rule.
I didn't mind it. It's as arbitrary as anything else you could come up
And
with.
it was,
because
and people forget, it was arbitrary before that. They were just switching back and forth each year.
it just switched back and forth every year
Yeah.
prior to that. But like picking the team that has the best record is arbitrary too.
I mean, it's arbitrary, but it's based a little more on something of head-to-head matchup in terms of like, rather than just like rolling the dice or like, well, 3 months ago, the league that this team was in won this game against the other. So it doesn't really mean anything. It's like saying,
Now that
hey, this this team's division is harder than this team's division, so we're gonna give it like it doesn't mean anything. It's arbitrary.
now that everyone plays everyone, it should just be the two teams who are in the World Series who won the head-to-head in
I'd
the
be down
regular
with that.
season.
That'd be fine.
That team gets home field advantage.
Yeah, I don't have any issues.
I think we just solved that.
It's been solved. Put out the banner.
Yeah.
Add that
Rob,
to the
Rob, we know you're listening. Okay.
add that to solving rivalry weekend. We've
Yeah.
solved two things.
Mm-hmm.
We've
Yeah.
done
We'll
it.
expect the check in the mail, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
We're still waiting for the first like 5 checks we said are in the mail, but one day it will come.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the All-Star break?
Where's the All-Star game going next?
Philadelphia.
Philly, I think. Yeah.
Nice.
I was curious because I was trying to figure out how they were going to. School Bowl wasn't going to get to start next year. I was like, okay, what about the new location?
Yeah. What about what's
I-
the reason the school's not going to start next season, right?
I couldn't think of a Philly-related reason off the top of my head.
Yeah, that was a little bit.
Nola's last season, so they'll put him in for the honor.
For the American League.
1,000% do, by the way.
No, but he's going to pitch for the wrong league, so that
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, when did they announce where it's going after Philly? So they normally have it like 2 years in advance, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have to look it up. I think think we could move on to maybe not. It's news, but Dan kind of alluded to it earlier. There's a scandal afoot because we got on July 3rd a very cryptic message from the Cleveland Guardian saying that Luis Ortiz was placed on paid leave. And almost immediately, Ken Rosenthal then posted that he was on leave due to a betting investigation and sources. This isn't the first time this year I think somebody's been investigated with. Who was it? Hoiberg? No. Whoever the umpire was got fired because he was using an account that had a betting app on it that he was using for baseball. And then last year, I believe a Padres infielder got banned for life. The reason he is being suspicious, this is all from Rosenthal's report. There was unusual betting action on 2 separate pitches a couple weeks apart. Both of them, I believe, were the first pitch of the innings. You can't really see it on here. I tried to just try to point it out, but this is where the ball landed on the first pitch. It just an average, just the ball slipped type thing. The second pitch happened on June 27th, about 2 weeks later. The ball barely makes it to the dirt and lands, I don't know, a bunch of feet out the way. On both of those plays, there was unusual betting activity for that to be a ball or a hit by pitch. And clearly, those are balls. There's a lot that can go wrong. 2 pitches can slip. It does look suspicious. I don't know how they're ever going to prove that Luis, because what the accusation would be that Ortiz either bet on it, or
someone paid him
to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you prove the first.
Or he has a hookup with a friend who, said, "Hey man, let's, make this happen."
So, do we have any thoughts?
I do.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
So first of all, that second pitch is completely non-competitive.
Yeah.
Like that is. Alternatively, Ortiz hasn't been exactly a beaten man this year. So again, I wonder how they're going to prove it, and I think the way they prove it is through got to find out if he was talking to somebody. Communication. Is there a paper trail? Is there something that leads to? I think Sam's idea of a friend, a family member, somebody reaping monetary benefit from those pitches would be the most likely smoking gun if there is one to begin with.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
as a Guardians fan, I hope he's absolved and not just like ambiguity, but absolved. But if they're able to prove it, we talked about gambling and Pete Rose a handful of weeks ago. If they can prove it, I don't want to see him on a baseball field ever again for
Yeah.
the Guardians or anybody else for that matter. But again, I hope that this is just a misunderstanding or a coincidence, and they're able to prove that out. I will say, outside of the overarching moral aspect, which is the most important thing here, as a reminder, the Guardians traded Andres Jimenez for Louis,
Yeah.
for Spencer Horowitz, and then traded Spencer Horowitz for Luis Ortiz. In doing that, they traded away their second baseman of the present and future for a guy that they thought was going to be in their starting rotation for several years. And they are now in a position where they could have traded away their second baseman for the present or future and don't have a starting pitcher. They just,
For
that
literally
roster
nothing.
spot just vanished. And so that would be a major setback for the organization. And that really goes into what we've kind of touched on before. These people are human beings. And beyond that, you are not just signing a baseball player, you're signing a person of character,
Yeah.
good or bad. And so um, we'll see what comes next. I think it's interesting that the initial suspension was through the All-Star break, and the All-Star break is approaching. So I don't know what that means. Obviously, something like that can get extended,
Yeah.
but there's going to have to be some sort of news in the next week or so,
Right.
even if it's just, hey, we're still looking into it.
Well, and I wonder like
This
what his long-term effects of this, because like if he's innocent, he's not going to be in the court of public opinion for the next couple of years. Any pitch, any first pitch that goes near the dirt, everyone is going to be like, it's on. Or they had unusual betting activity. I bet it happens a lot more just because he's pitching on that certain inning.
That's an interesting thought. And the other part of it is, how does a clubhouse deal with that? And for the other players in the clubhouse, I was talking about background stuff going on during this 10-game losing streak. I mean, there's the immediate kind of psyche blow to that, but also welcoming this guy back into your clubhouse in
Yeah.
general. Stephen Vogt's going to kind of have his hands full, and he has to this point in a way that he didn't last year.
this reminds me a lot of what happened with Jonte Porter in the NBA. What was that, a year ago now, or 2 years
About
ago? Jonte Porter, who Mizzou alum, Columbia native, uh, was obviously kicked out of the league for having a third party who would bet on the under for his stats. And in order for those bets to hit, he would have to play in the game. And so then he would go in the game and come out with injury. And so all of those under bets would be winning
hit.
bets.
I think I heard about that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so this happened a year ago, and I believe it was like maybe like $40,000 or something like that he ended up winning on these bets. And now, granted, that's a lot of money for probably the four people on this podcast. I'll
Yeah.
take $40,000. Thank you very much. Yes, please. But for an NBA player, it's a little bit different. And I think it kind of opens up with this conversation about Ortiz and with Jonte Porter. It opens up a conversation about betting itself. And what I said about Porter at that time was we should not be able to do prop bets for the 9th guy on the Toronto Raptors, who were the worst team in the league. He played like maybe 5 or 6 minutes a game. Why do we have propositional bets on something like that?
Why do we
And the
have
same
bets
thing,
for whether the first pitch is going to be a ball or a strike? I mean,
and
that's so silly.
that's exactly what I was about to say. Is why should we be? I understand why.
Yeah.
I guess I won't
Money.
phrase this as a question. I'll just say there's no reason that we should have bets in a logical betting framework of whether or not the first pitch of an inning is going to be a ball or strike. And when you can bet on literally anything, I think things like this are going to happen. So, like, if we get into the future, I would love to see a world where you can bet on the spread, over under, money line,
Yeah.
whether or not someone will have a hit, whether or not someone will have a home run, whether, over under on strikeouts, things like that, I think are fine. But when we get into the little tiny minutia of the June 17th game between the Guardians and whatever team in the third inning, what pitch is going to start the third inning? Is it going to be a ball or a strike? I think that is more the conversation that I think we should be having is about regulation on betting.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I agree with that. MLB won't because they're just gonna kiss like FanDuel Sports their ass because they get so much money from them. Like they're just gonna follow the money train. Like I agree with what you're saying.
Brought to you
and
by
I don't think
DraftKings.
you're naive enough.
I think
to say-
it would take legislation.
Yeah. There you
I
go.
think there's
would take-
going to have to be a giant scandal in order for anything to happen. Like, we got so close with the Otani thing. It almost
I was
forced
about
something
to
to
say,
happen.
I was about to say a giant scandal like Shohei Otani betting.
We got
I'll
so
do you-
close.
I do you one worse. In the world we live in today, where people have social media that agrees with their worldviews, half the country will think it's a scam and not
Yeah.
true and a fraud in the first place. And even if the biggest scandal in sports, half the country wouldn't take it seriously and we wouldn't get legislation anyway.
Right.
I don't feel that strongly that that's true, but I definitely think there's the possibility for that to be true at this
Right.
point.
Well, I think the big difference with this is that this is so new. And we are like within the last 10 years, sports betting has been legal nation, the Supreme Court ruling was in 2018, I believe. 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
I think this is so new, and I think we're very much in the wild west of sports
Right.
gambling right now. I think at some point we will see some greater regulations as far as online betting and sports betting is concerned. I do think it's going to take something big, but I think something big is bound to happen.
Right.
It just needs
Either
to catch up. The
this is-
regulation needs to catch up with. And also, whenever, not to get political, but when you ever have anything about online stuff in the government, it always takes 15 years for the people there to figure out what it is.
unless
Yeah.
unless that money
Graham-
trail shows up.
Yes, Senator Grandpa just learned that you can make a bet on your phone.
Right.
Can
Well, I
the
think it'll
TikTok
be-
access my Wi-Fi?
Yes. Yes, it can. I want to wonder too.
Alternatively, that's one thing the argument I've heard, and this is interesting, and I don't know that I necessarily entirely buy it, but the legitimization of gambling and such, the argument I've heard is now we can, the argument you can make is, well, this stuff has been going on for forever, and it was illegal, and we weren't able to regulate it, and there wasn't a legitimate bookie or casino that could go to the MLB and say, hey, this betting is weird, like this. So you could make the argument that we're actually in a better place now because things that might be on the take are able to be surfaced in the first place. But it sure would be nice to have a little more structure and regulation to that beyond just being at the mercy of the sports books.
Well, and I don't know if you went to like an illegal bookie and you said, I would like to make a bet that the first pitch of the third inning, like they wouldn't even be able to,
Right.
probably
Track
wouldn't
it.
even be able to give
That's
you
a great
odds
point.
on that. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to know how illegal gambling works. It all comes
Yeah.
from TV and movies, but like they'd look at you and be like, "You paid someone to throw a ball," and then or
Do you-
something. You know, they're not going to take that bet.
You exactly. They would say, "Oh, you're going to pay off the guy to throw a ball in the dirt." So,
Right. Well, to me,
um,
that's what was weird. When I first saw like the footage of it, I was like, that's the bet, or that's the signal that he's in on the fix. That's what I first thought when I saw the pitch was
Because
in the dirt.
it's not just those two, right? That someone found a video. I don't know if you saw it, like going around of he struck out Volpe, and then seemed to be angry at himself for striking him out.
Oh,
I didn't
Like-
see that actually.
I haven't seen
Yeah,
that.
let me see if I can find the video.
This is kind of
And
like
by
this is a random point, so you guys can shoot this down hard if it's stupid. But I think when we're thinking of like what's going to take to cause actual change, and we're thinking of a big scandal, I think, and we talked about it, maybe it was offline, that owners, the ability to own a baseball team is that group is becoming smaller and smaller, and you're going to see corporate entities buying these baseball teams now. Who's to say a FanDuel, who is already buying sports network, that
Swing and a miss. He came right back in, struck.
You can't really see
He
it
ate
too
him up
well.
and struck him out. He might have been the only guy. He
That
was the
one.
first guy.
Yeah, this one right here.
He was the first guy I think that threw 100 pitch. Only guy. He was the first.
I can't see anything from that.
He
So
might have been the only
I mean,
guy. He was the first guy.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Pitches. He was the first guy.
you'd have to be incredibly not smart to be visibly upset on the mound
Right.
in relation to his bet.
yeah,
Yeah,
and also,
I don't.
also that can
Also,
just be
if-
interpreted. He didn't get his location right. That he
Yeah,
Or
I
it could
mean,
just-
it's
Or it could be joyful, like
Right.
he was.
we're just
you know,
like Scooble does that all the time, and you
Yeah.
know, but it's like we're just interpreting it differently.
But I do think that kind of
Or
brings
it-
in the larger point. He can't do anything now without people over-interpreting his actions.
Yeah.
Just
he
because,
also was. He was down 4-1 and had thrown over 100 pitches, and that could just be like I know I'm coming out of the game
Yeah.
and my team is probably going to lose type thing, you
Empty
know.
it.
Also, the account that's sharing that is a Boston fan shitting on the Yankees. So
Oh.
you know, it's
oh yeah,
Maybe-
then
they're just interpreting it in a negative way on the Yankees, on Volpe specifically. You
I
know,
don't-
someone who.
I
Yeah,
don't think
but
that
I
was
think-
anything.
I
But
think what's
it's something
probably
that's like, okay, how those are the two bets that are like standing out, right? Are we going to believe that if he was betting against himself, those are the only two? Those two pitches are the only two things he bet
Right.
against.
Well, that would be that's what they would have to signal. I think like where I kind of curious. I'm kind of going off of that point, but how much money does Luis Ortiz need to make to offset his MLB minimum salary? That's already 740 million or 740,000. If he's decent and gets to arbitration, he's going to make $10 million. Do you care about $50,000 because you're in a take for a one bet or one or two bets? Are you going to make that much more money?
Or the argument is he helping someone else make money? He's not.
That's what I
making
think.
money.
That would
Yeah.
be the.
But then again, why
is,
doesn't he just give that person?
Well, that
money?
would be my point too next to it. But
or is he trying to make money that can be allocated in a way that, you know, he's trying to make money that he can use maybe under the table a little bit more than just giving someone money, if that tracks for what I'm saying, where it's
Yeah,
like, oh, you know, Billy Ortiz needs some dough to pay for his cancer treatment, or Billy Ortiz needs to, you know, give some money to a shady character. I don't just want to give him money to give to that shady character. So let's, you know, make $20,000 doing this little betting scam. And, you know, I think it's probably less about the amount of money and more about the sort of the nature of what the money might be being used for.
What you're describing is like the opposite, the inverse of money laundering.
Exactly. Which
Money
why would
dirtying.
you Yeah. Why
Yeah.
would you? Because like FanDuel has any betting app you use, they have your photo ID, they have your IP address, they have, and unless you're able to fake all of those things, they can see, oh, hey, going back to Billy Ortiz,
Mm.
made a $10,000 bet on this pitch. Like it's not that hard to trace.
I forget who it was, but I was watching some podcasts show something. Like, okay, if it is really these two pitches, and they said these two pitches had a unusually high amount of money. I mean, I don't know how much money we're talking, right? Because like, how many people are betting? But they were basically saying,
Yeah.
how many people are betting on this thing? What is the difference between unsuspicious and suspicious? What's from stopping people? Like, I really hate this player. I'm going to bet money on this thing and make it look like they're betting on themselves.
I saw somebody say this on Reddit about Scooble.
Really? What?
Yeah. They were like, end of the year. It must have been another playoff, maybe like a Yankees fan or something. Like, I'm going to wait until like the last couple of weeks of the season. Now I'm going to put a huge bet on Scooble throwing a strike in the first inning of a game. Like,
That's what I was just thinking too. Is
Yeah.
I was like, what I'm gonna do from now on, every Tigers game, I'm gonna put like $100 on Scooble first pitch and see, and
Right.
so yeah.
But you'd
Because
have
that
to
$100
put
will
a.
move the needle.
It's like, oh well, if I
But
do
like,
it
who?
if I
Again,
do it
how many
every
people are
time he
betting on
pitches,
that?
So we send Lee to every Scooble start. We're all going to make a bet on the first pitch of the third inning, and we're all going to
legitimately though,
Tigers down.
I think if we all put $100 on Tarek Skubal, first pitch, ball or strike, for the rest of the season, all three of us, because Lee's not included in this, if we did that every game for the rest of the season, I guarantee you that would get flagged as suspicious activity.
Yeah,
Not to
'cause
like the degree where Skubal would be like put on leave or whatever, but I guarantee you the betting apps would be investigating us.
because that's really it's a weird thing to bet on. How many people are betting
Yeah.
that much money
Well,
on
I want
a
to. That would
random
be
ball
And
in the
may,
what
third
I'd want
inning?
to know.
Maybe not now, because I think a lot of people are going to start doing this as a meme, betting first pitches, ball
You have to pick
Yeah.
strike.
something
If
else.
this,
Because yeah, of course.
in a vacuum, that might work. But
By
yeah,
the way, just we're not going to do this, everybody. Anybody listening?
Yeah.
We're not
Rob,
going to do that.
Disclaimer.
this is satire and analysis.
Yeah. I don't. I. If Luis Ortiz is innocent, I'm going to feel awful for him. If
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
guilty, nobody feels
Because
bad for
dude,
you.
that's
But
not ruin necessarily, but that's gonna
this will
mess
be a
with the
topic the rest of his career. Like, and
Yeah.
that's
that could be millions difference in arbitration and free agency. We're talking.
yeah. Right now he has not been proven guilty of anything. And
Well,
let's be honest, it's nothing that we all don't like. I don't do many online bets, but it is perfectly legal except for the sport you're doing. It's not like this makes him a villain, but like morally in the sport it does. But just keep in mind, he is still innocent at this point.
yeah, and I
It'll be
think.
really. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. I was gonna say for him, I mentioned Jonte Porter earlier today. He tried to go play overseas. Porter did. But all of the not I don't know if all of them did, but there were leagues overseas like the Euro League who said we don't want you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So even if he did get if he is guilty, is he gonna find a place to play in Mexico or Japan or wherever?
Well, not for nothing. If Trevor Bauer can continue pitching in other leagues and Ortiz, I mean, granted, this is a completely different subject, but
I
like,
think that's different.
Didn't he just get cut the other day though?
Yeah,
I
Bauer?
think so.
the
He got
minors in
demoted.
Japan. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really funny. He's like statistically the worst pitcher in Japan right now, and he might be tipping his pitchers. It's hilarious.
But he can still strike out that one JUCO player on YouTube.
Somehow the only 10 batters who can hit him are always on the other team. It's so weird.
Yeah. Trevor Bauer is a YouTuber at this point.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
I was gonna say.
So,
yeah.
I just think it'll be really. You're right about Ortiz. If he's innocent of this, he's got a long road to hoe. I also kind of wonder how the Guardians will handle that. Like I said about the clubhouse, I'd just be very curious to see how he's welcome back, if he's welcome back, etc.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, we should probably move on. This was a good convo, but I think we probably need to, unless anybody has any closing thoughts on it. But I think we can move on to
bigger and better things.
Well, this isn't better because unfortunately we did have. I just want to talk about this briefly because in the last.
God damn it!
Yeah, sorry, Lee. It's a bad time to say this. So Bobby Jenks passed away in the last week. If anybody who has been watching baseball since the 2000s, Lee, you were a youngin, but I think you still watch. Bobby Jenks passed away this year of some form of stomach cancer. I just wanted to take a couple seconds just to kind of talk about him. I don't know if anyone has like any specific memories of him, but just to kind of just do like 1,000-foot little bio of him, I guess. He was, I didn't realize this before I looked this up today, but he was in his rookie year, he closed out the World Series.
That's screw ESPN, by the way, because in their little blog bio thing, they said, he was on the roster in the World Series. Like, no,
he closed
out the World Series. Come on.
AJ Brzezinski is jumping right in his arms.
Yeah, like, dude, ESPN, be better.
What I remember, like, he threw 100 back when nobody threw. It was Randy Johnson and no one else. Randy Johnson was still pitching in 2005. I think he was probably with the Giants, like about to leave. But he had a pretty good stretch. He wasn't like an elite closer. He wasn't like top 10. I did try to search StatHead to finagle him into a top 10 and something. Couldn't really do it. But overall, he was a really solid closing pitcher. ERA plus was in the 130s. His strikeouts per nine were over 11, especially at his peak. He had a really good two-time All-Star. He had really good, and then like a lot of relievers just kind of flamed out after 2008, as you would expect somebody who throws 101. I did just kind of wanted to see like what he did against the division. Cleveland, he didn't have the best luck, but also the division had some pretty decent teams. The Cleveland Indians at the time, they had a 105 OPS plus against him, 2.1 strikeout per walk, and I'm trying to find his ERA, which it does not want to show me, but a 671 OPS. The Tigers fared a little bit less than that. They had 91 OPS plus with a 315 BABIP.
Because we struck out 1 billion times against him.
Yeah, 2006 was a good Tigers team, wasn't it?
2006 was good. 2007 was a pretty good, and then around that, it's kind
of the Royals. I don't think we want to talk about the Royals in this time period. Let's just.
I was about to say these were some pretty lean years for the Royals.
And then the Twins were in a pretty good stretch too. But he was always closing out the games. Does anyone have like a lot of memories of Bobby Jenks other than it was really annoying facing him at the end of the game? Because I hated his stupid goatee. I hated facing him, but that was just because he was good.
I have two thoughts, and one is in 2005, the Indians were competing with the White Sox for the AL Central Division. I just recall Jenks being locked down. He was on a heater that, obviously, we talked about him closing out the World Series. It was earned. He was phenomenal down the stretch for them. Yep. And then the second one coinciding with that is, and I don't remember which game this was, but my prevailing memory of Bobby Jenks is Ozzie Guillen coming out to the mound to call Jenks into the game. And he didn't do the right hand, any of this stuff. He went big and tall. I want the big guy. He probably had two righties in the bullpen. He went, I want the big guy.
I want the big
and which was very much Ozzy, but also was completely descriptive of Jenks. He was a big dude,
Yeah.
throwing hard, throwing downhill, and
Yeah.
he just
What's up?
he burned really bright for the White Sox
He
there.
6'4", 275.
Dang.
And he looked it. It was a big one. It was a big boy. And then like I think he had black hair, but then like the goatee he would dye blonde.
Intimidating looking
He
too.
just, hated it. I hated facing him.
That's so 2000s to have the bleached goatee thing. That's
The ramen noodle hair with the bleach goatee. We were a trendy bunch. But yeah, not too much on Bobby Jenks. Just just kind of sad. He was an alum, so I felt like it was worth talking about him. But
Good guy, good player, and 2-time All-Star, World Series, nothing to sneeze at. So.
Yep. Has more World Series than the Twins have had, certainly in the last 30, now I guess almost 40 years. So we'll move on to more recent. Dan, I'm sorry. This is not a pro Cleveland episode because, the Tigers and the Guardians played a series and it did not go well for Cleveland. I watched a couple of these games, and despite the 7-2 win, that game was not. It was 1-1 in the bottom of the ninth, and the Tigers ran away with it. This was an infuriating game for me to watch as an outsider. You guys talk about what it was like caring about it.
Dan, do you want to go?
I said a lot of my piece when I was going on my tangent earlier. I think it kind of folds into this. I was enthused by the Guardians starting pitching all series. They did a very good job against a very good offense for Detroit. And like I said, I felt like they kind of rose to the challenge, knowing that their own offense was really struggling, as you can see here. 3 runs in the entirety of the series.
Yeah.
And Detroit scored 6 runs in Sunday's 10th inning. Detroit outscored in that one inning all of what Cleveland could put together for the entirety of the series.
Yeah.
So this was the depths of despair, so to speak, for the Guardians. This is the end of that 10-game losing streak against the team that was leading the division, putting even more distance, really honestly burying and leaving no doubt of the Guardians' inability to come back in the division. I imagine there's individual items from the particular games, but really at face value, I mean, Sunday really hurt.
Right.
Sunday really hurt. Leading that game, 1-0 going into the ninth, having lost the last 9, feeling like after a great pitching performance from Gavin Williams, having a shot to lock this one down, and then a hit by pitch, I believe a stolen base, a runner moving over to third on a ball in play, and then with 2 outs, a passed ball through the wickets of Bo Naylor tied the game. And then, by the way, Clase struck out the batter on the next pitch, and just that was the meltdown moment for me as far as that losing streak. Just to get so close to salvaging from that series something. And then, by the way, they come out in the 10th and score 6 runs and put it out of reach. Off of Cade Smith. Trey Sweeney hitting a opposite field home run off of Cade Smith.
That's
you guys got me going again, but
ridiculous. That home run was the most unlikely outcome of that at bat. Trey Sweeney has not had a home run off a fastball his entire career, and he hits an opposite field home run off of Cade Smith.
Just to culminate, Friday and Saturday, really close fought ball games. Would have liked to have won Friday when he had 9 hits and 1 run, but okay, fine. But Sunday, that's a meltdown. And I'm glad to see they've bounced back this week, but it was tough in the moment.
Yeah, it was it was a good series for the Tigers. It was very frustrating 27 innings because it's a very, very tense battle. You couldn't really get any runs really, I mean, we got 2 runs and 1 run, so we scored. It's just a matter of our pitching was really good. Their pitching was really good. Our hitting couldn't hit any of their pitching. Torque scored the only run in game 2. He had the only 2 hits on the entire Tigers lineup. Tigers win 1-0. That was, Jose Ramirez in the first game hits a home run in his first at bat against Reese Olson. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much, goes 0-21, first at bat against Tigers pitching, immediately hits a home run. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. That's what I expected. Game 3 is really the big one. I mean, Tarek Skubal started that. Gavin Williams was amazing, too.
That was the part I forgot to mention. Sorry to talk over you, but we're going to steal one off of Skubal. It's 1-0. We're going to clock this down. No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm watching Skubal going against the Guardians lineup. It's like they learned from the first time they faced him this season, where they went, Maddox 13 Ks, and they said, oh, we're gonna in the hitters meeting or whatever, they're like, we're gonna try and get these at bats more, grind it out a little bit more, and then the bottom half of the lineup just like skipped that meeting because only the first 4 guys in the lineup really tried doing that at all. Is pretty much you could see. Skubal was, ridiculous again. It was kind of his thing. Through the second to last pitch of his outing was 100.8, way out of the zone because fuck you. That's why. Pretty much. 10 Ks, no walks, 3 hits or whatever. Yeah, the bottom of the 9th, the top of the 9th inning. I'm sorry, It was Torque got hit by a pitch. McKinstry goes in as a pinch runner. Steals second, gets the third on the ground ball, then gets to home on I think they scored it as a wild pitch, but it was a passed ball. I'm not sure why they scored it as whatever. It was really more of a pass ball. It's semantics.
I said it in our chat. The Guardians catcher was hitting 172 at the time, let that ball get through his legs. So no defense and no offense. It's frustrating as all get out.
Yeah,
I will ask Lee.
Yeah, go ahead.
A while back, we did a recap. I think it was a Royal series, and you were very unimpressed. There was another low-scoring series. I believe the term you used is this series could have been an email.
Yeah.
Did you feel similarly about this series, or was this different because it was hard-fought, close games?
The first 27 innings, a lot of it was, especially game 2.
Way?
Yeah, it was a game 1 and game 2. All the runs scored were off of solo home runs, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you can make the argument for game 1 was a little more exciting because there's a lot more traffic on the bases. But like game 2, Tigers had 2 hits. They had a couple walks, but like it was a very boring game. Torque had 1 home run, and that was all of the scoring.
I would have to as an outsider, watching this game, if this entire series was more than 7 hours and 30 minutes of baseball, I would be shocked. Take away the 10th inning of the last game. I think I'd have to look back at the times, but if it was over 8 hours, I would be very surprised. The total times. This series, there was nobody was on base ever. It was a lot of strikeouts. It was just mowing down the entire, no lineup could do anything against the other team. So as someone outside, I was getting frustrated for both of you.
Yeah, the top of the 10th though, that was something. I mean, Javi hits a bloop single, and then Trey Sweeney. I want to talk a tiny bit about Trey Sweeney here. Let me pull up his baseball reference. Just so you got it up. So Trey Sweeney's a rookie shortstop. I think I'm higher on him than a lot of other Tigers fans because he doesn't make a lot of good contact, but he has power. He's shown that a lot. And so he doesn't really hit fastballs very well until 2 days ago, apparently. Yeah, you see that 1 home run all the way off to the left. That's that home run. That's the only opposite field home run he's got this entire season. Yeah. I think I made this joke. Cade Smith versus Trey Sweeney was the coughing baby versus nuclear bomb, but the coughing baby won.
It still works.
But he's shown a lot of moments where he can come through. I tried looking at his clutch stats to fit my narrative, but it doesn't really work because he has not that many at bats. But I looked at his postseason at bats, right? Game 1 against Houston in the wild card series, third inning or whatever. 2 outs, 1 on. He hits an RBI single to score. Now it's 2-0. Tigers win that game 3-1. Right? As a 2-out RBI single. Otherwise, if he doesn't hit that, we don't score the third run, and then it's tied 1-1 in the ninth.
Another one,
etc.
Yeah.
And then his other hit in the postseason, Game 2 of the ALDS, top of the ninth, runner on, 2 outs, hits a 2-out single to get on base. Next at bat, Kerry Carpenter hits a 3-run home run.
Sure.
So he doesn't get a lot of contact, and he doesn't hit for a lot of power all the time, but he's got power, and he can hit in big moments. And I think that he's going to be better than a lot of other people seem to think he is. I think
Maybe.
he's got potential.
My only counterpoint to that is like, I don't see it. It doesn't look like he plays a lot of positions. He's been playing shortstop.
It's only play short.
Which is fine. If you can play shortstop, you can play other games. He is literally like the absolute worst at making any sort of significant contact, hard hit, squared up, however you want. He does not control the strike zone that well. He strikes out a lot. He does not walk a lot. He's not a great fielder, which, by the way, like, just because you're not a great shortstop doesn't mean you can't be a great fielder elsewhere. His value, now his bat speed's up, so if he can figure out how to connect, that's fine. You can feel like he can generate power. He's already 25, and the only thing he really brings to the team is sprint speed. So he can get better, because I don't know if getting worse is an option.
You show me your nerd stats, and I say fives tell me that he's got potential.
Okay, fine.
I like him.
And 2 years from now, when he's starting in the All-Star
Maybe
game,
I'm
you
wrong,
can remember this moment.
I'm willing to be wrong, but I don't know. I think I'm higher on this guy. I'm not saying he's going to be Francisco Lindor anytime soon, but I'm just saying he has potential to be an average shortstop.
No, and that's fine. And for right now, he's the 13th guy on the bench. It's fine.
Yeah, he's got good defense. He just had like a period of like 2 or 3 weeks where he was like horrible for some reason, but he's got good defense.
Yeah.
But yeah, the top of that 10th inning, I just started laughing. I mean, it was just. I mean, Cade Smith has been destroying us since he came up, pretty much. In the postseason last year, he struck us out like 12 Tigers in those games. Like, we have not gotten a hit off of this guy all season, and then 2 home runs, 6 earned runs, or 5 earned runs technically, I think. But yeah, I mean, it was just good. Sure. It was fun.
Well, we'll remember this moment to see if you're right by the end of the year. But anyway,
to answer your question, Eric, the total time of the series was 7 hours and 50 minutes.
Nice.
What'd I tell you? And that's with a long 10th inning.
Anyway. 50.
Take out that inning, I had my 7 hours. Anyway, doesn't matter. What a stupid thing for me to be happy about. Do we have any remaining news we wanted to go over before we go into predictions?
I'll just go with one.
Go ahead, Lee.
I had one more thing about the series. Dan, could we talk about how the amount of umpire replays that had to be overturned? Because there were 3 in that third game. Like, what are we doing?
It was the umpiring in the entire series was very suspect. I believe I mentioned it in our chat as well, watching those games, that it felt like, and it just felt that way because I was being sour, but it felt like the Guardians' offense was bad, and the umpires felt like they didn't have to get things right because who cares? The Guardians aren't going to hit the ball anyway. Like, there was a little bit of that going on for me. But yeah, 3 overturns, like fast overturns, by the way, too. Like, talk about cumulative time. There was probably a minute spent on all 3 of those reviews total.
Like, the first one, Matt Vierling grounded out, and they called him safe, and he was out by like 3 steps. The other one I remember is Zach McKinstry stole in the top of the 9th, and he was clearly safe, but they called him out for some reason. I'm like, what are we doing here? There was the one in the first game when Perez gunned down, I forget who it was, at home. That would have been the tying run for the Guardians.
Oh, yeah.
Or it would have been an extra run, and Yeah, but it would have made it 2-1 or whatever it was at the time.
That was the difference in the game, by the way. That was a great throw by Perez.
Oh yeah, I don't know where this outfield defense came from him, but he's been great. But
I think it was Bo Naylor he threw out, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Because they initially called it him out, and then Cleveland challenged it. And I think we said it was one of. Yeah, I think he was out, but also if he had been originally called safe, it wasn't close enough to overturn it, type of thing. But whatever. But yeah, and there was just so many of those this series. Well, an unusually high amount. I just thought it was worth commenting on.
Sure.
Because Stephen Kwan struck out at a ball that was like 3 inches outside the zone, and I'm like, okay, so this is how this game is gonna go. But he also got a ball that should have been a strike earlier in the at bat, I think. So it's like, what are we doing here?
Right.
Yeah, first at bat of the game Sunday for the Guardians. They're like, oh, that's how this is gonna go today.
The only real news, and it's not even real news, Rocco Baldelli got his 500th win as a manager on a walk-off bunt.
Nice.
Everyone's grandfather.
That he called.
He did call it. They've done it. It was kind of fun because Buxton, I think anytime Buxton's on third now and anyone can bunt, it's like, I don't know. It's almost a guaranteed run if you can just get the thing fair because nobody is going to be able to get Buxton home. They've done that at least one other time this year. They did a squeeze bunt that surprised everyone, but it was just kind of funny that for the fan base, I don't think is particularly high on Rocco, and you can certainly have your opinion on him, but the big thing is like, ooh, he manages with the calculator and he always looks at his spreadsheets, and his 500th win, so walk-off squeeze bunt. Suck it, Grandpa. Look at that strategy coming back. And if you're ever looking for a good gag, Twins Reddit, for every walk-off win, they cue up the music of We Can Build This Dream Together, the 80s song. It was really funny with a walk-off bunt. So I did post that on our Blue Sky if anyone wants to go see it, or just go visit Twins Reddit. They have a whole thread. It's great. I recommend it highly. Anything for the Royals, Sam?
I've got one little bit of news, some injury news. Reagan's went on the 60-day injured list.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, probably not going to see too much of him for the rest of the season. Some other moves.
Procedural?
Yeah.
Like he was already
mostly. I think it was mostly procedural. So I think if the Royals go on a run, they'll probably try to bring him back. But barring that, I think he's probably going to be done for the year. Other news for the Royals, they signed Dallas Keuchel today to a minor league deal. There's a name from the past.
Yep, he will not die.
He's joining Rich Hill over in AAA.
Yeah, so
got an interesting roster.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I believe $2 million deal, prorated if he makes it to the big leagues. He has not pitched a full season since 2021.
Yeah.
And
for the White Sox.
For the White Sox, yeah. And the last time he's pitched significant action in a season, he was 2022, where he had a negative 2.5 wins above replacement.
Ouch.
In about 15 starts that year.
Do they know what he's throwing? Because when he played with the Twins for a cup of coffee, and his fastball was like 86. That hasn't gotten faster.
I didn't see any info on that, but yeah, it's a flyer.
I would love to see Rich Hill, like the competition between Keuchel and Rich Hill on who can throw hardest, I think would be hysterical. I want to see this.
That's television right there.
Yeah, well, and he's going to be also 37 this year. So again, it's like old guys getting it done, I guess.
Yeah. Well, are they though?
We'll see. We'll see. So anyway, that's all the Royals news.
Yeah. Dan, I think you covered a lot of anyone that you want to.
Real quick, there are a couple of things. Paul Sewald returned to the team Saturday. He's pitched better since he came back. He's only, I think, made 2 appearances, but he left the field mid outing earlier this year. Thought that was going to be very disastrous. He's back. Um, Kyle Manzardo, I alluded to earlier, he's been put on emergency list. Turns out his mother's having a heart transplant. So
Oh,
keep the Manzardo family in your thoughts. John Kenzie Noel was activated in his stead. Got to start last night. And then Lane Thomas is back on the IL with plantar fasciitis again. I would anticipate that's the end of any possibility of Thomas being traded before the deadline.
yeah, that sucks.
I don't know that anybody would want him at this point, between his play this year and the injuries he's had. So Will Wilson was recalled, utility infielder. Just those 3 injury items I wanted to relay.
Lee, anything for the Tigers?
Just a couple minor things, really not anything big. We talked about call-ups for prospects. Manny Margot is no longer a Tiger. He's been released from the organization. Yeah, thank you for your service, your 6 games, and going 6 for 19 or whatever it was. Thank you. But
his on-base percentage will be lower. No, what is it? His on-base percentage will be lower than his batting average. I think that sticks now.
Yeah, thank you, but you no longer needed. We added some like minor league pitcher or whatever. Doesn't, if he comes up, we'll talk about him. But
I was watching AAA, like the Toledo Mudheads. I was watching a AAA game, and he was batting 9th in the AAA lineup.
Yeah, he hasn't had a good time down there. Yeah, that lineup is stacked still.
That is now, but I think like the 3 call-ups were probably the reason he got cut.
Yeah, because it moved around a bunch of other people. So, and then Alex Lang suffered not a setback, but a delay in terms of, in the words of AJ Hinch. It felt something in his lat because that's what his injury was. So he's delayed, not a setback. Alex Cobb is suffering a setback. I don't know if others.
Shot. Water wet.
Yeah. In other news, we'll see. Do we want to make over/under bets on how many starts he will have, how many appearances he will have for the Tigers this year? Because I don't know if he'll ever make it.
I would set the line at 1 and feel pretty confident about the end.
The over/under should be 0.5 on that.
Yeah, so we'll see if the mystery box that is Alex Cobb will ever make its way to Detroit. But for now, he is getting more hip injections. And
you know what would be stupid is if he comes back the last week of the season and like gets put in the bullpen and then goes on like a miracle run, because Cody Ross exists for the Giants for that reason, and like watch him just become a god in Detroit for no.
Because we played Cleveland a bunch at the end of the season. If he makes 1 start, I hope it's against Cleveland, because that would be really funny. Just for
because there's a lot of fond memories in Cleveland.
Yeah, but we'll see if we'll ever see him again. But yeah, apparently
I feel like is it still Illich that still owns the team, right?
Yeah.
What an absolute waste of $15 million.
Whatever, I'm not going to get too caught up about it.
No, it's fine.
Take a chance on an old pitcher who, if when he pitches, he's good. So, and like that's the going rate for a pitcher, pretty much. You can't say, well, you're probably going to be injured a lot and miss a bunch of the season. We're not going to pay you as much. It's kind of
right. It didn't stop them from signing anyone. So, like, I'm not going to that's harsh. I tried being funny. Maybe it was mean-spirited, but you sitting in your chair has given just as much value to the Tigers as Alex Cobb and his $15 million.
He has been more useful to this team than Kenta Maeda has been. So I'm not going to get...
That's a solid point.
Yeah, if that was like the only thing... I think I said this before. If Alex Cobb and if we hadn't signed Flaherty and we hadn't signed Torres, if Cobb was like the only addition we'd made, I'd be pretty pissed about it. But like... We signed 2 starting pitchers. One of them has worked out all right. One of them is, molding in AAA or AA, wherever he is now. Whatever. I'm not going to get too annoyed about it. Not my money. There's no salary cap.
Right.
Whatever.
And for the White Sox, Luis Robert was activated. Will that mean anything? Probably not.
Desperately trying to get his trade value
it'll
up.
mean he can get traded. Yeah.
I wonder the return. I was saying, like, I was kind of wondering, like, he might be a really good buy low candidate, but like, and I was like, well, maybe what if the Twins just give him a buck? Because like, he's not going to do anything in Chicago. What is his realistic trade expectations? Like, I wouldn't mind the
Cash
Twins getting in on it,
considerations.
but
Hey, Andrew Vaughn already has a game-tying
that.
single and a 3-run home run.
I saw that.
So,
Robert's
Dude,
gonna get traded for cash.
if he immediately becomes good after leaving the White Sox, that would be so funny. It's no skin off our backs. He's in a different league, in a whatever. Right. It's so funny. I hope he stays good. That'd be great.
All right, let's move on to the schedule. So, all right. Running into the All-Star break, so every team only has one series. Detroit playing Tampa Bay. Did they win against Tampa? I'm assuming.
No, we lost.
Okay, well, they lost. Oh, dang it. The collapse begins. They're only 13 games up. Then they go to Seattle starting on Friday. Then it's the All-Star break. Come back with the Rangers. The Royals playing the Mets next. All-Star break, and then come back with the Marlins. The Twins just beat the Cubs, so they've already won the series. Please take a sweep tomorrow. That would be great. Then they play the Pirates, which I believe they get Skeens on Friday or Saturday, and I'm hoping he wants to pitch the All-Star game, so they let him pitch. But that would be stupid. They won't do that.
Well, the Pirates can't win when he pitches anyway.
Huh?
The Twins have a Stranger Things night.
Yeah, it's a Joe Ryan thing because he's strange.
What's the sound that's coming with the Byron Buxton bobblehead? I'm intrigued.
I hope probably not the sound of an ambulance if I wanted to make a mean joke. That was mean. I'm sorry.
Awesome.
You apologize to Byron Buxton's family.
I do, because I do really like him, and I do feel he gets a lot of crap for being injured, which, whatever. We're not going to talk about the Nelly post-game concert.
No, yeah, that too.
Or the Barbie game day. Anyway, then they play the Rockies after. So this is a good stretch to like win some series and get above 500 and see what you can do. But then I think they play the Dodgers after like the series before the trade deadline. The Guardians have a 4-game series against the White Sox, and I think Dan was more confident about that series 2 weeks ago than he is right now. But
hold on.
Yeah.
We are in the top of the ninth. The Guardians lead the Astros 4-2.
Hey.
We are a half inning away from potentially sweeping the Astros after losing 10 in a row.
Everyone knows that in order to break a 10-game losing streak, you go and on the road and face the team that just dog-walked the reigning champs. That's what everyone does.
Here's the thing, is we're very close to sweeping the Astros, who just swept the Dodgers, who had earlier this season swept the Tigers.
So through the transitive property, clearly.
Yep.
I think we have a new sheriff in the AL Central.
Yes.
Not really.
Can we rewind the tape about 10 minutes? Go over what...
No, I do feel a lot better with the way this series has gone, and I do think we have the opportunity to end the first half here pretty well against the White Sox, but I'm not delusional about where we are in the division right now.
So can you, not while we're pointing out fan giveaway days, what the hell? The A's August 18th. Free Shirt Friday?
I actually don't know what that is. I'm just going to be completely honest. I don't know what Free Shirt Friday is. I've never heard of that before. I don't remember seeing that advertised, but it's something.
I mean, it's fun. It's not like there are shirt giveaways it's just like, I don't care what we call it. Just put something on the calendar. We'll figure out the working name later. And then, oh crap, we never changed it. Free Shirt Friday against the A's. At first I thought it was an A's promo, which would be even funnier, but whatever. And then the White Sox 4-game series against the Guardians, and then the Pirates. All right. So we have one series to predict. The aforementioned 4-game series against Cleveland at the White Sox. Standings, Dan winning. 13 has predicted 13 series correct, and everyone has either 10 or 11. Lee and Sam are at 11. Oren and myself are at 10. So I guess Dan can either increase his lead or we can all gain a gain. So, Lee, who you got?
So let's see. Guardians had a 10-game losing streak and didn't have any offense. Their pitching is still very good, and they're just coming off of a sweep of the Astros. So they're rolling a little bit, but I think they're going to take 2 out of 4, and it's going to be a split.
Sam.
I think Cleveland can win 3 out of 4 against the White Sox. They're maybe beginning to right the ship a little bit, so I'll go with the Guardians there.
Dan.
Am I allowed to say that if Paul Sewald somehow blows this, I pick a split, and if he doesn't, I pick Cleveland?
We
Is
can
he at
do
risk
that.
of blowing it right now?
Just Cleveland. We're gonna go Cleveland.
All right. I'm gonna go for a split, just to be boring. The White Sox haven't played particularly well, but they haven't played bad either. But I'm just gonna go with the split and be boring. So, think that's it. Anyone have any closing thoughts? All right. Well, if I can find the home run derby, Rob, I will share it everywhere because that is now my new favorite clip. But outside of that, we'll see everyone next week. Talk to you guys later.